We're live. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yay!
But hi everyone. My name is JT and we are joined by the amazing Adrienne, or better known as Insert Disc 5, who made In Stars in Time. It's a phenomenal time loop RPG maker game that's really I loved it so much. I had such a good time with it and gosh, I'm still thinking about it. But yeah, Adrienne, I know I just asked you how you're doing, but to tell everybody who's listening, how are you doing today?
I am good. Yeah, like I was saying, I'm in an Animal Crossing mood, and so I am reorganizing everything in my home and buying a lot of colorful stuff. So I'm happy to just buy a bunch of stuff.
It's always a good feeling. I was just looking around, just
Exactly.
like, oh, there's so much color and life in the room. Hooray.
Yeah. And then I'm like I just hit my 30s and now I'm in that moment where it's like, you know what? I'm gonna have some of this stuff for the rest of my life. So I better replace them with stuff that I wouldn't mind seeing for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's a good
Let's
point.
change this tablecloth and everything. Like, all right, I've seen
Yeah,
you enough.
needs to go.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, excellent. But yeah, so today we'll be interviewing about your game in Stars in Time, and I've said before, I love it so much. But yeah, I guess to get started, I finished in Stars in Time. I had a great time with it, and then I noticed that you made a Start Again, which was like a prologue to In Stars in Time, and
Yes.
I was really curious, like playing through it, and I noticed all like, oh, like this made it into the game. That's so interesting. Like a lot of the character portraits and the enemies, and I was wondering how much of In Stars in Time did you already have planned while making the prologue Start Again?
I had the pretty much the whole ending figured out when I was making the prologue. So that's why I added like a couple of little hints that I was kind of worried to figure out. Like, are people gonna figure out the whole game because I put this hint kind of
Right,
feeling,
yeah.
but ended up being okay. So I'm glad. And yeah, like I didn't have all of the background and the world building figured out yet, but enough of it that I had like a good base to figure out everything that would be then in Stars in Time. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just like I noticed there's a lot of bits and there's like the prologue kind of gives a hint to a certain character that's kind of like the identity of one of the characters. It's spoilers, so I don't really
Yes.
say for who, but yeah, I was playing this like, oh, everything like it ties together, it makes sense. So I was really
Yeah.
curious. But yeah, like I was also wondering how much of like the world did you have like built in terms of like the layout of the house and everything, and also maybe like the town, or was that just still like
Yeah,
percolating?
none of the map was figured out when I was making the prologue, and the layout of the dungeon in the prologue ended up being very different than the layout that was in Stars in Time, and it's because I was still figuring out what level design meant. And that was something that I was wondering about at the very beginning. I was wondering if I should keep the exact same layout that I had for the prologue and put it in Stars in Time, maybe on that last floor. I decided not to because there are a lot of those rooms in the prologue that I wanted to put earlier, so that the player would have like a good idea of what the world was like, and then some of those other rooms in the prologue was like, this is giving a little too much, so I want to put them later on or maybe hide them a little bit. So that was something that I had to figure out. And then same thing for the village of Dormont. It was like, no, I don't. I have nothing figured out here. I had to make it up as I started finally in Stars in Time.
Excellent. Well, I really love how it turned out. I thought it was really cool playing the prologue and just seeing like how what it became of it later on in Stars and Time. So I had a really good
Yay!
time
I'm
with it.
glad.
Yeah. Well, next question is from my editor Callum. What was your process for balancing the fun gameplay with the narrative advice of repetition and frustration?
Just well, the repetition that is in the game, I feel like is a repetition that is easy to engineer for RPGs, especially like just the mere concept of having an RPG where every time you die, you go back a little earlier. That's already gonna create a lot of repetition on its own. So I didn't really have like so from that, it was really about figuring out how much to um how much should I play with that, and how much should I kind of try to reduce that frustration a bit. And so that's when I decided to add like the fast forwarding that you have when you've already seen a piece of dialogue before and you can just fast forward through it. Same thing with early on, I decided, like, I had in mind that when you died, wherever you died, you would always go back to the very beginning in that starting town. And then I quickly realized that that would be really annoying.
Take a
And
lot more
so,
time.
yeah, exactly. And so I decided to instead make it so that you could teleport yourself to certain checkpoints throughout this map. So yeah, that's pretty much how it is, how it happened, is that the repetition is part of the game no matter what, and it was mostly about figuring out when to remove some of that and when to just completely play it straight. And it's like, yeah, that's going to be really annoying, but that's the game. Sorry, that's just how it is.
Yeah, I always thought that was a good trade-off. I was like, oh, what if I miss something? I don't know if I want to skip all of these bits, but it was such a good bit. It kind of leads into my next question, asking about the fast forward button, because I really thought that was such an ingenious part of the game where it plays into the gameplay, but also because like you can't really, it's gonna take so much longer to watch through like every single scene again. But it also like plays into the narrative of it because sometimes you skip over some crucial narrative moments, and that comes up later. And I love
Yeah.
that so much. I was like, oh wow, I wasn't paying attention.
Exactly. So yeah, like fast forwarding is something that is always in visual novels. So I figured that I would,
Mhm.
since my game is so text heavy, it was kind of imperative that I add a fast forward version of some kind. And then I decided to, like, just like I did everything else, like the way that I added, oh, if you have a game over, you can just restart, and if you arrive to the end, quote unquote, you can start a new game plus, quote unquote. And how like that, those concepts are just really expanded. I also wanted to expand a little bit the concept of fast forwarding and really put it into that the context of someone who's time looping and who is actively deciding, like, it's like I could have left it as fast forwarding and it's just a gameplay thing, but I really wanted it to become an actual thing that the main character Sifrin is doing, and it's something that they would do, which is just at the beginning I'm zoning out, and then as the game continues this is more like, no, I'm just disassociating here, I'm not here anymore, I don't want to be here. And since I added that, like, that's why, like, when you're fast forwarding, like, you have this little like nod animation of
Yes.
something going, yeah, yep, yep, uh-huh, yep, yep, yep. And I really wanted to play with that, with the fact that sometimes, like, as the player, I feel like it kind of depends on what kind of player you are, but some people, they see the fast forward button, they just immediately use it, they're like, this is a great gameplay thing. But you also have a lot of players that see this fast forwarding thing and go, but that's not cool. Or I feel like the game is going to trick me into doing that and is going to make me feel bad about it later, which I never end up doing, just because I feel like just knowing that you're doing it is already guilt enough.
Right.
And so I wanted to do that. And also, since Sifrin is actively zoning out, to have moments where Sifrin does miss some information that they later on go, oh, I completely missed that. Like, I just completely skipped through that, and now I'm realizing. Or moments like every time Isabeau is trying to confess, where the fast forward just stops and it's like kind of Sifrin going, is this it? Like, I need
Oh
to
my
really
gosh.
focus. I need to really focus. I think this is the moment. So yeah, I really wanted to play with all of that for sure.
Oh my gosh, that was such a good moment. I was like screaming every time. I was like, come on, now's the
Yeah,
time.
come on, come on.
Oh, yeah, I love that so much. It felt like such a good like kind of meta kind of narrative point where like you're really put in Sifrin's shoes because like they won't want to listen to that like 100 times over. Neither would you, honestly. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, but also it was like for some of the bits where I don't know, maybe they're saying the same thing, but Sifrin's response to it changed. I was always really interested in that. I was like, oh my gosh, this is
Yes.
dark.
Yeah, I really wanted to play with that whole concept of picking choices and then how those choices inform Sifrin's personality and how that personality and that outlook changes as the game goes on.
Yes.
And so sometimes you would have some choices and then some choices disappear completely. And you might or might not notice that some of those choices disappear as Sifrin is like, I actually don't want to ask that anymore. I'm good.
Yeah, it's so much fun playing the game a second time and realize like, oh wow, they feel like a wholly different person like throughout some parts of it, and I love it. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. For the next question, did you have a favorite character to write about, or did you relate to one more than others when you were writing the game?
I feel like my answer always changes. Um, I I feel like Mirabelle was always the hardest one to write. I feel like Mirabelle and Isabeau. Sifrin is very easy to write because like I've written him so much and their thoughts, but it's like there you go. You're here. I get it. Um, but I really like writing Odile just because she is very much like a no nonsense type of person, and if she sees something that is a little suspect, she's not going to think too much about it. She's just going to go, what's happening? I would like to know what is happening here. And so that means that I was able to kind of go around a lot of really like like a lot of moments where you have the character saying something and everyone's like, all right, I'm gonna ignore it, and you're screaming, you shouldn't ignore it. And
It's like,
Odile usually is the one who's like, okay, there's something here though. What's
right.
happening?
No,
Like she notices.
I love the scenes, and there's a special scene where if you do enough suspicious stuff, she can call you out on it. And I'm like, part of me's like,
Yes.
yes, they knew, they figured it out.
Yeah, finally you did it. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh man, but yeah, her stuff was always great, and also her dynamic with Bonnie was always a lot of fun too. I always
Yes.
enjoyed it.
I had so much fun writing them. I feel like that was the thing too, is that I didn't get that many occasions to write about the characters' relationships beyond just Sifrin and the other characters. So at some point, I just decided that so if you go to the bathroom and you've already had Sifrin's monologue, you might get like a random interactions between the other characters that Sifrin can listen in on. And so that was really fun to just have them interact without Sifrin being into the mix. And kind of trying to think of but the relationships that the other party members would have with each other that Sifrin would not necessarily be aware of. Like that was something that was really fun to write. Probably the fun, like some of my favorite bits to write that in the whole game is trying to figure out, I wonder how they would talk to each other.
Oh, I always thought those were sweet, or just like Bonnie getting a hug, or the two of the
Yeah.
people just being like good friends to each other. It's like, oh, this is really wholesome. I love this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Were there any like features or dark Sifrin moments that you wanted to put in the game but couldn't or weren't able to?
Yeah, like one in particular. So at some point in the game you can unlock the ability to kill yourself, like straight
Yes.
up use your knife, kill yourself, and that way it's just way faster to just loop back. But of course I really wanted to go into details about like, hey, but you're like, it's not just that you're letting a monster kill you, or that you're actively taking the steps to kill yourself.
Yeah.
And the scene is already pretty dark, but my first draft was way darker because I had like Sifrin doing a whole monologue of like, all right, where should I strike so that I can die the fastest way possible?
Oh
And this
no.
means that I had some really like worrying stuff in my Google searches because I was like, where should you stab yourself so that you die immediately? And I'm like,
Oh no.
FBI, I am okay. FBI, looking at my computer, I'm okay. This is for research. That like this is for writing research. Don't worry about it.
Yes, of course.
But yeah. But like that was in my first draft, like he really went into details, and then I actually like I talked to my therapist about it. I was like, should I? And she was like, I don't think you should,
Oh,
but you do whatever. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, you're so right. I will
yes.
not do that.
That's what the fan fiction's for, of course.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed that scene so much. I'll confess to I was being one of the ones that's all like, wait, can I use this on another party member? What happens?
Yeah.
So I was like, no,
Don't do that.
don't do
That's
it.
not to be used on friends.
I was curious. I wanted to know what happened. I figured I could just loop
I
back.
I added like a couple events like this that's like for the players that's like, but I want to see what happens. Like you can open like there's one NPC that wants to give a gift to Maribel and asks you to deliver it to her. You can actually open the gift if you want to. And that was something where of course you're gonna feel bad after, but it's like, but did you are you checked it though? That is a thing you can do if you want.
Yeah. Oh no, I was very much one of the people. It's like, their feelings. There's like they won't matter. It'll just we reset the
Yeah,
time.
I loop back and it's fine.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I love those moments so much. Was the kind of deconstruction of the typical RPG and JRPG fights into rock paper scissors like aimed at any game in particular? I feel like In Stars and Time has kind of ruined Pokemon for me now. It's like, oh, it's just rock paper scissors.
It's not really a deconstruction. It's more like going back to the very roots of like the of having different types in video games. Is that like the types in Pokemon are just rock paper scissors, but a little more advanced.
Right.
And I did have like back when I was doing the prologue, I was really wondering what should the typing be in that game. And I at the in the first place I wanted to go with the classic like fire, water, earth, that sort of stuff. But there is a puzzle in the prologue where you have to find a torch so that you can burn down something so
Right.
you
I
can pass
remember.
through. Yeah, and so I didn't, just because of that, I did not want to use fire, water, blah blah blah, because I could already hear the people going, but why didn't they use the fire? Why didn't they use the fire attack to burn down the
Oh my
thing? And I
god,
was
what
like,
the heck, dude?
oh my god, like this is cinema sins. I'm here, and I think that it's like, all right, I'm just gonna have to pick something else. And then I just got the idea to do rock paper scissors, which I thought was very funny. And then adding all of those. And then just trying to find ways that rock paper scissors could work in that universe. Like how would it be decided? Would this world have specific beliefs related to that? And I ended up going with it's kind of like astrology. Like it's
Oh,
like your astrological
yeah.
sign. It's like, oh, I'm paper type, which means I'm very creative and analytical. And I just thought it was such a like sometimes when you like as humans, when we don't understand something, we can of course research it and try to find out how it works, or we can just go, but I think spiritually this is what it means, even though
Right.
I don't really have any proof, but I think this is what's happening. And I really wanted to, and it was such a fun way to add more character and more flavor to the world that I was creating. Is like, yeah, they just have rock paper scissors, and then they just have a lot of things that are related to that.
Yeah, and I always love that and just like trying to stare at their hands and like, okay, I think that's so it's a rock, or then they come
Yeah, and
across the
so
unravelings. I'm like, I don't know what those are. I don't know what that is.
that was really really fun because so the enemies all have the specific hand gesture that has to do with rock paper scissors.
Yeah.
And so for the full game, it is something that I say very clearly in the tutorial, that it's like you should look at their hands. But that's something that I didn't add in the prologue and in the In Stars in Time demo as well. So it was really interesting to see which players, like because I watched a lot of streamers, and to see which players noticed that about the enemies and which totally didn't. And sometimes the players would have this realization that it's like, oh my god, it's right there. Oh my god, I've been playing for like an hour and I'm finally realizing that this enemy is scissors type because they do the scissors sign. And that was really fun. I I felt like I had to be more precise about it in the full game, because otherwise, there would have been some players who would have never noticed in the whole game, and that is a pretty important part of the gameplay. Uh, but I'm kind of sad that I had to be precise about
Uh,
it, just because that moment of realization is so fascinating and fun.
oh, it's a good feeling. I think I realized it, and then they explained it. And I was like, no, I realized I got it. But
Yeah,
also,
exactly.
I love the moment in the beginning where like then you have the option to skip over the tutorial. I was like, no, I'm not doing this again. I appreciate it, but I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, but because I didn't, well, just because it is a time loop, you have to have a reason to have a tutorial, and it means that this tutorial is going to happen every time.
Yeah.
Unless a friend's like, actually, I don't want to do the tutorial. I have enough of this. And you can also do like, and that's why I added like, if you do decide to do the tutorial again, Sifrin goes, really? Just in case you have a player that's like, I pressed it by mistake. And it's like, but are you sure? And it's like, yeah, I'm sure. I do want to go into the tutorial again. And even then, since the tutorial is in like 3 different battles, you have to do the first one. And then after that, it's like, but do you want to do it again and do those other 2? Or do you want to just run through? Because you can do that.
Oh, it's also a good moment. I always skip past it because I was like, it's gonna be the same, right? But oh, now I kind of want to like replay that bit later on.
It is pretty much the same. There's just like a couple small moments where Sifrin's like, this, I know this. I'm tired.
Oh gosh. So I read about that you were a cartoonist. So I was wondering, do you plan on making any post-game follow-up comics, or maybe some comics poking fun at any of the scenes in the game or the characters?
Not really. I just because I feel like the fandom is already doing that for
Oh
me.
yeah, I've seen
There's
Twitter.
a Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I like this, the story's over. I don't really
Okay.
I have finished it. I have said what I wanted to say. I might, like, when I finally get to doing the art book and preparing it, there are like some last couple of things that I want to show about it, but otherwise, like, they're good. They've escaped the confines of the story. Everyone can be happy without me
Uh,
having to be like, you have to do this and you have to do that. And what if this horrible thing happened to you? It's like, no, you be free. Be free.
oh, it's nice to have that feeling of closure with it. It's like, oh, everything's all wrapped up and it worked out well for everybody. And
Yeah,
yay.
exactly.
Do you think you'll make your future projects or games in Grayscale too, or was that limited to In Stars in Time, do you think?
Limited to In Stars in Time, just because it was very fun to work in black and white, and I really liked that, and that made it way faster to do. But now I am using it as a crutch, and I want to go back to challenging myself and actually doing things in color again. So whatever my next project is, it will definitely be in color.
Okay, excellent. I mean, I honestly, it grew on me, and I got attached to this. Like now, it's like imagining with color. It's like no, it needs to like remain like grayscale now.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Kind of joke question, but will Sylphin ever be able to stomach the stench of bananas ever again, or is it just ruined for
It,
him now?
it depends on if you died a lot to bananas. But I feel like he'll be okay at some point. Just he needs so much therapy.
Oh
Is the
yeah.
thing. After therapy, I feel like at some point Sifrin's gonna go, you know what? We've done the big stuff. We've talked about my country, we've talked about my past, we've talked about the time loops. I really want to talk about the bananas now. Can you help me with the bananas? Because I want to be able to eat bananas again. Thank
Oh.
you.
Oh my goodness, that was so good.
We did the hard stuff. Now can we go to the bananas, please?
The banana trauma, of course.
The banana trauma.
Oh, I was gonna ask, did you have a favorite scene to write? But you already mentioned the bits where you were like the other characters were talking with each
Yeah.
other. But I don't know if there was anything
I
else you wanted to add. But
Well, so there's a secret room on floor 3
mhm.
that you can access, and this room was the very last room that I added in the game because it had like because I had like just those 2 events that happen here that I had written, but I had nowhere to put them. And I was like, I need to create a secret room somewhere so that I can add those two events that I wrote that I think are very good. So I feel like those are the like every I added all most of the events that I wanted, but those two events were like I managed to slip them by and be like tell my producer, okay, Dora, I need to be able to add one more room. Would it be okay if I added one more room so I could add two more events, please? Please. And she said yes, so I added them.
Yeah, it had some really good context that it's just like that really brought it all together for its different story. And I was like, oh, so that's
Yeah,
why.
that's why. Yeah.
Oh, it was kind of heartbreaking too. I was like, oh no, you poor guy.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, okay, kind of more just a world question. I don't mean to be pedantic about it, but do difference loops rewind time for the entire world or just when within the bounds of Valgard? I feel like I've been saying it. Is it Vanguard? Valgard?
Vogard.
Valgard. I've been saying it wrong so
Yeah.
many times in my head, but
Everyone does. Those are French words. I don't expect English speakers to know French words. It's fine.
I still feel awful.
Yeah, I actually haven't decided. I feel like it's kind of in like a cat box where it's like I feel like it could be really fun if it was only Vogard that did loop, and I feel like it would just be so fun to kind of imagine the rest of the world being like, is Vogard
Yeah.
okay? Like we can't like maybe we can't enter it or something. And apparently every time I look at it every 2 days, it just loops again. So that's I don't know what's happening over there, but that seems a little freaky. like and I feel like it would also add to this whole uh like kind of put it next to the country where it's like there's a bunch of countries where just weird things happen. Some of the world is okay, and then some of the world is like some magical shit is happening
Yeah, it's like,
there.
oh gosh. I still like to think of like someone is just on the edge and they're watching their neighbor do the same things every 2 days and they're slowly getting a little bit more
Yeah.
scared, just like, Jeff, you've been like this for a full month. You have to stop.
Jeff, are you okay? Jeff, it's been a week.
Oh gosh. But yeah, I guess that's one of those things that just like, can leave it up to the person reading and stuff because
I think so, yeah.
it's part of the magic of it.
Yes.
Oh, what was the biggest challenge you faced while making In Stars in Time?
The coding.
Oh,
But if we put the coding aside, figure like writing was most of the time really fun, but it was more about figuring out how to go from point A to point B sometimes, especially most of the story quests during Act 3, where it's like, okay, I know where I have to end, which is you figure out this thing or you have this big reveal or something. How do I get there? What do I need the player to have figured out? What do I need the player to have an idea about at this point, and then figure out that at this point to kind of introduce this whole concept? What places do I need to go through first? And then once I have figured that out, how do I actually write those moments? It's probably going to be a book because that's what I did for most of the game. But what does the book say? Why is the book there in particular? Am I making sure that all of those different stages are going to be hopefully in different floors, because I want to make it really annoying for everyone. That is actually a thing that I put in like my notes. It's like it has to be annoying to do this fetch quest from every
right.
other
It's
floor.
like, wait, I was
You
just
don't
there.
yeah. You don't. I didn't want to do. Okay, first you have to go to floor 1, and the next thing you know is on floor 2, and the next thing is on floor 2 also, and the next thing is like it's like no, I need to really, both because I need to really show the player this is frustrating for Stefan also, and also because I wanted to up that loop number. Like and already like I feel like I could have done more to make the loop level higher for people that finished the game. Um, but I did a good job so that at least players are not finishing the game with 12 loops or something.
Oh no, it took much longer for me.
Okay, go ahead. Because for some people it took them 30, and I'm like, that's not a lot. I should have done.
What?
I should
Oh
have
my
done a
gosh.
better job.
You really have to know where everything is for that. Also just like me like exploring different dialogue. I was like, oh, they said something different. Oh, time to go find a banana.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that some, because I don't know if you checked out on Steam the number, like the playtime that the players have that left a review.
Oh yeah.
Wildly different
Oh.
playtimes for people that finish the game. The lowest, like some people finish it in like 20 hours. Most it's like 25, 30 hours. And then you have the little freaks, and I say that with so much love in my
Oh.
heart, so much love, that finished it in like 60, 80 hours. And it's like, oh my god, you love, I'm so sorry, but also I'm really glad. Like I can tell that those players just probably, because I know a lot of players have done it, they've said it, is that every time they go somewhere, they always loop back to the very beginning. Like they don't
Oh.
actually teleport
Bless
themselves
their
because,
hearts.
yeah, because I think for some players, they had, like, for some of them, it's just that that was the way that they wanted to play it. And for some others, I think they had the feeling that it was much more of a roguelike, and it's like, this loop will be the one. So I need to make sure that I do like a kind of like a Majora's Mask situation.
Right.
This might be my last loop playing this game, so I need to make sure that I do every quest so that I really have a perfect loop. I'm like, I'm so sorry I led you to believe that, but I kind of love it as like a peek into this player's mind, and a peek into their own Sifrin's minds, because I think it is absolutely a thing that
Right.
a
You really
Sifrin
relate
would
to it.
do. Yeah, it's like I like Sifrin could absolutely be thinking that way. It's like this time might be the one, so I need to make sure that everyone is happy, that I've done all my quests, that everyone is happy with me, because it might be the last one.
I was thinking that where there's kind of a fake out. I'm not gonna say when it happens, but I
Yeah.
got to the end. I was always, oh, I didn't do like this the character quest, and it's like, oh, it's not complete. I was like, oh man, I guess different gets like a half baked ending, but at least it's a good ending. And then the fake out happens, and I'm like, part of me is like distressed because what's happening is so awful. It's like, oh gosh, no. And then
Oh, baby, no. But also, it's like, phew,
I was like,
okay.
okay, I can redo it. It's fine. Everything's
Yeah.
gonna be fine. But yeah, I was so into that moment, and then like I won't say what happens, but it was just like part of me is like, oh wow, I was really fooled or tricked for some of that stuff. But also it's like I
Yeah.
should have seen that coming too. Like, oh my gosh.
It's always really fun when people really expect like the end of Act 2 to be the end of the game.
Yeah.
I think it's very cute. I'm like, oh, that's so nice.
Oh gosh, for me, Act 3 really sold it. It was like, okay, that makes sense. So now everyone's happy, and then that happens, and I don't want to
And
say what, but yeah.
yeah, and in a weird way, I feel like the price of the game also gave them an impression that Act 2 was the end of it. Just because
Yeah.
they're like, it's a $20 game, so maybe it's like a 12-hour game. And so, oh, okay, I beat the final boss. This is it. Short game, but $20, that makes sense. And then they're like, oh, oh, I'm not halfway done.
Yeah, now the game's just starting.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that was such a good like twisting the knife in the heart moment for me. And I was like, oh no, it's different. You
Oh,
poor
baby,
little
no.
guy. Oh, how have you felt about In Stars and Time's overwhelmingly positive reception, like on Steam and other platforms?
I I'm like how do you react to that sort of thing? You know, like like you always feel like that when something you've done has so much success that you're just gonna feel overwhelmingly happy forever, but actually you just feel numb. It's just like that cannot, this is insane. Like this is like the reaction has been so much more than I could have imagined. And I think that it, like I got really really happy, and then it got to a moment where my brain was just like, I you feel so, you're just gonna feel overwhelmed. It's just like the happiness meter has just maxed out, and now it went back to like just like this is it. You're just static. It's like, oh my god, oh my god, that is a lot of people. Oh my god, like I don't know. How many buses is that? How many buses full of people is that? That's a small city. That's crazy. Thank you.
Oh gosh, I imagine it's pretty unreal, like just to have all of that.
Exactly. Oh yeah,
Oh,
it's unreal. It's so Italy, and I don't mean that to say that I'm feeling anything negative, but it is just like I don't know how to react to this. My brain is not prepared for that at all.
oh my goodness. Well, I'm so happy for your success with that.
Thank you.
All right, for next one, maybe putting aside Groundhog Day, were there any games or media that you really drew inspiration for In Stars in Time?
I never actually watched
Oh,
Groundhog
you
Day.
didn't? Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's on my list. Because since I started making a time loop game, I actually like a bunch of people also that friends and family sent me, "Hey, you should watch this. You should read this. What about this? Do you know about this?" It's like that is a lot of time loop things that you guys want me to check out. Just a lot of things. I feel like my biggest inspiration actually has been time loop fan fiction in
Oh,
general, just
okay.
because I read a lot of fan fiction, and I just read like in particular Persona 5 New Game Plus's fan fiction, especially because spoiler about Persona 5, but there is one party member that dies in the original Persona 5, and that was my favorite character, and that made me so sad, and so it also made a lot of people sad, and so a lot of people did fan fiction where the main character goes back to the beginning and tries to save that party member that
Oh,
died. And I just love the concept. I probably read all of them on Archive of Our Own. And using that concept in the same way, like in that um taking this basic video game concept and making it an actual thing. And then after that, just I played a lot of time loop games. What did I play? Like Umineko and Higurashi were inspirations for sure. Um, Nausea, which is like a visual novel Among Us kind of time loop kind of thing, where I did not like Nausea that much. However, there are many parts of it that I was like, this is really, really fun from a gameplay perspective, just because I played the whole game and I ended like same thing. Every loop they show you this is loop whatever, this is loop whatever, this is loop whatever. And pretty quickly I got to 110 loops, and I was like that like and I didn't see them pass, and so I really admire the way that you can get to 110 loops that doesn't skip any loops or anything. It's just you playing. I really like that. And same thing with 12 minutes, which is another game where I'm like I did not like 12 minutes.
yeah, it has
it's
some
it's
rough edges there.
it has some I did not like it. However, there are some parts of it that I think are so cool, like the so you can so you have your main character who is in a time loop, and there's a home invasion whole
Right.
thing, and during that home invasion you can fight the guy who enters your home, and the first time that you fight him, like you whiff it, and then the guy immediately punches you in the face and you die. The second time you do it, you whiff it again, the guy punches you, but you evade, and then you try another hit, but then he kills you again.
Yeah.
And so every time that you do that same action, like your character survives for a little bit longer. And there are so many moments like so yeah there are a bunch of moments like that in that game, where if you try certain actions more than once, it is going to slightly change. uh and I just thought that it was such a fun way to show how that character learns and how that character changes when it comes to those parts in particular. Same thing, like you can I you can kill yourself in that game. In the very first time, the main character is like, okay, 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 oh my god, okay, I have the knife, okay, let's and then like it takes him forever to die, and then the more you do it, the easier it is for him to kill himself.
Oh
And
gosh.
that is so cool. I love that so much. That's so cool. And so I like that. So those games for sure, and also I guess I'm putting a little neat little bow in that by saying you need to play games that you won't like. I feel like it is helpful to sometimes play games that is saying this game fucking sucks and I hated this game. It's like, okay, I'm gonna play it still, maybe because I'm a hater and I love to hate, but also because there might be some nuggets of things. And usually if people really hate something, I feel like there is something that's being done right. Is the thing, because I feel that way about any type of art, but the worst thing that you can feel towards a piece of art is indifference. If you're just like, yeah, that's bad art. If someone is just like, yeah, that's bad art. But if you look at a piece of art and you're like, that fucking sucks and that angers me and oh my god, I want to tear it into pieces, and that's really good art. That
Oh
is
my
really good
goodness.
art. I'm sorry if you are feeling something this strongly, it means it's good art.
Oh, I've gotten that with games where I've had to review them and I realized probably through like, oh, this makes me angry. This kind of sucks, but I can just see that's like, okay, there's some
But I'm gonna
bits that
have
I
a
will,
really I
yeah.
will write. I will write so much about
Oh,
how
the
much I hate it.
catharsis when you can write the review on it. It's like, yes, take that.
Yeah, I hated that, and that was the worst.
Oh my goodness. I had to review the Grayskull Instant, which was a game I was able to finish and get all the achievements within 5 hours. And I finished the review, I tore it apart, and then I returned it on Steam, and I was like, yeah, take that. And it was a good feeling. But yeah, it's try things you don't like. I don't know if I want to listen to that advice, but I'll try.
Not always. I feel like once a year.
Yeah,
Once a
once a
year,
year.
go see that movie that everyone hates.
All right. Well, what do you think is next for you for projects to make, or I don't know if you're still keeping that stuff under wraps for now?
I'm making right now. I'm in the super early pre-production stages for a visual novel, so that's probably what
Ooh.
I'm gonna do next. And that way, I I will not feel guilty for writing so much because it's gonna be a visual novel. Because I did feel a little guilty for how much text there is in Stars in Time,
Oh,
and I'm like, okay, but this time it's fine. This is a medium made for writing.
honestly, I ate it up. I was so happy there was so much text. So I was like,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
glad.
there's even more. All right.
Because that was the thing too, is that I felt kind of guilty about so much text, but I know that I personally love games that have so many little
Yes.
secrets and pieces like this. And I figured, okay, if I like it, there must be at least five other people.
Oh yeah.
At least five. I can have five players. If I have six, it will be great.
Yeah.
Six is a success.
And I'm very much the person that will just like eat up fan fiction, that will just constantly look for more content. So I was appreciative of there being a lot of stuff to read or stories to
Yeah.
explore, and I had a great time with it. Uh,
Yeah, that was something that I like. I have been a fan of many things for a very long time, and I know that the best way to like the things that I read the most fan fiction about are the things uh that felt open ended in some way, and so that's why I made sure to add a lot of open ends to In Stars in Time so that
right.
people could imagine and and that's good for me because that means good word of mouth. But also like making fan art brought me to this point. Honestly, like making fan art has been so useful for me to get more used to writing, more used to drawing, more used to um having a community and talking to a community, and if I'm able to give that to other fans, that they can feel more confident drawings, that they're getting the brain rot and it has to be out somehow, and they have
Yes.
to draw, they have to write, they have to do something artistic to get that out, like that that makes me so happy because that is exactly what I wanted people to kind of get out of this game. Is just something that, like, best case scenario was like, I hope someone gets really, really, really brain rotted over this, and it is happening. And I'm like, okay, good. I'm so happy for you that you can forget about your problems for a little bit and just draw and just create fan
Yes.
art. Fan art and fan fiction and whatever you want. Just do
Gosh,
it.
I've been so absorbed. I've just been like watching some of the YouTube animatics of what's going on. And it's
Yeah,
like, oh, this is so
exactly.
good. Well, is there anything you want to say to fans now that In Stars and Time is out and it's received such positive reviews and criticism?
Uh, I want to see more essays. I'm not seeing
Oh.
enough essays. I want to listen. I'm. Oh, I know he's gone from YouTube, so I can't talk to him anymore. But the MatPats of the world, listen to me, please. If you want, I would like if you need some content to do, please make like a 2-hour video on In Stars and Time. Like even if you're just thinking about it, just do it. I want you to do it. I will watch it from beginning to end, and I will and if you want, I wouldn't even give you notes. I'll be like, oh, I really like that. Really good thought process. I really like. I'll give you a grade if you want, but please.
Great.
Make videos, make essay videos, make a 3-hour long H Bomber Guy style video about
Yes.
it.
Please.
I would die. I would scream. My whole neighborhood would be like, "Did someone die?" It's like, no, I just saw there was a 2-hour long essay video. That would make me so happy. And just I feel like in general, what I have learned making this game, I kind of mentioned this before, but make things that make you happy, and that just thinking about either like someone else or even you, if you weren't making it, if it makes you like giggle to yourself and go, I'm so excited, like this is it, this is when you should start creating, this is when you should start making your thing. And just there's going to be at least one person out there in the world that is going to be exactly what they were looking for, and probably way more. Let's be real. I feel like we are all starved for art in general, and there are a lot of things in the world that makes you feel like you can't do art anymore, whether that's AI or like you don't have time, or like you don't feel like you have enough knowledge or like enough know-how, whatever. It's like, forget about all that, just make the thing, just make it. I feel like you should just make it, and even like if you finish it, that would be amazing, and if you don't, you can use like what you've made as a base for whatever you're gonna do next. So please just create things, just make them, please make things. That's all I want. I want people to make arts all of the time. That's what I want.
All right, you hear that, people? You have your mission.
Exactly. You have 2 missions. Make a 3-hour long H Bomber Guy style essay video, and also make things. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Well, actually, I kind of want to mention my editor actually made a big video on your game, and he showed it to me
Really?
beforehand. I'm really excited for it to come out. So,
Oh my god, I'm
yeah.
so excited. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, editor. Yeah.
All right. Well, that wraps up all the questions. I had a few cheeky questions, but I don't want to ask them because it'll be a little spoilery. I don't know.
You can ask one if you want. It can be just for you. You don't have to put it in the article or whatever.
Okay. Just for me. Okay. I know it's up to the players, but if you had to say approximately how long would you say Sifrin canonically stayed in the loops? Like around like 2, 3
I don't.
months, or
I will never say. This is one of those where it's
okay.
like, well, mostly because it's like it is really up to every player. And also, what I have learned when it comes to writing, never say numbers, because then people are going to be like, well, actually, this doesn't really go with what you said before, and you said this amount of months, and you said oh blah 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 blah, and it's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have the whole script in my head that much. So I feel like I would say probably at least a couple weeks. At least, at the very least, it's taking Sifra a couple of weeks, and at the max, it's gonna take way longer. I don't
All
want to
right.
say
All right, that's a
more.
fair answer. Thanks for letting me ask that kind of
Yeah.
mean question.
Put a number. It's like, no, no. People are gonna be mad at me. The people that do the wiki page are gonna be mad at me if I say numbers.
All All right, well, Adrienne, thank you so much for joining. And everyone, if you haven't already, I please recommend you go check out In Stars in Time. It is a phenomenal game, and you'll have a great, heartbreaking time. And it's just, please go play the game. It's so good.
Yay!
All right. And, oh, I should say, like, bye bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Okay.